program, The Candidate, where we give you the 2023 August general elections presidential candidates. And today we have Mr. Trust Chikohora, the president of the Zimbabwe Coalition for Peace and Development, who is going to be sharing with us what he has in store for the nation for this election and of course afterwards. Mr. Chikohora, thank you for coming to the program.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Chikohora, for the benefit of the nation, can you just brief us on who Tapiwa Trust Chikohora is and what your party stands for?
My name is Trust Chikohora, and I'm a presidential candidate for 2023, representing Zimbabwe Coalition for Peace and Development, ZCPD. I'm a chartered accountant by profession. I'm a businessman and a business leader. I run a firm of chartered accountants based in the Midlands. I have investments in the education sector, and I'm a director of several companies and organizations. I've been a leader in business. I'm a past president of the Chamber of Commerce in Zimbabwe, past Secretary General of the COMESA Business Council, amongst other things. I'm a politician who leads a party called Coalition of Democrats, CODE. But we have now come up with a coalition of parties that were in Poland, which have come together to form the Zimbabwe Coalition for Peace and Development. These parties include my party, which is CODE, where I'm the president of the coalition. Our vice president of the coalition is Lucia Matibenga, who is the leader of PDP. Our secretary general of the coalition is Reverend Chikanga, who leads a party called RZP, Rebuild Zimbabwe Party. And our treasury general of the coalition is Peter Gaba, who leads a party called UDPP. We also have some members of parties which were in Poland, which are actually part of this coalition. But in terms of the leaders, those are the leaders that are within the coalition. We worked within Poland for the past 4 years, trying to find solutions that would help this country to move forward. That's where we realized that now that going to the elections, it would be better and more viable if we come together as a coalition and compete in the elections under a united banner, as a united force, which would give a more viable proposition to the people of Zimbabwe. And that is why on the 16th of March, we came up with our memorandum of understanding for the coalition, and ZCPD, Zimbabwe Coalition for Peace and Development, was then born. We have been to all the provinces in Zimbabwe to get our people working together in the various parties and to introduce the concept of ZCPD, the concept of the coalition, and it has been well received. The main ethos is that in Zimbabwe, we have been a polarized society in the past 2 decades, actually. Polarized mainly along 2 party lines, and that has resulted in the country not being able to move forward. That has resulted in people pulling each other down. That has resulted in a lack of development in this country. And so we have said, no, it is time for people in this country to come together, to work together as one. And the first step that we have taken is by creating this coalition, which is a vehicle that can be used to bring people together, irrespective of party affiliation, irrespective of whether you are even involved in politics, because our coalition, we also work with civil society. We have residents' associations that we work with, for example. We have some churches that we work with, some church leaders that work with us. We have people who do not even belong to any political organization, but who yearn for a better Zimbabwe. All those people are welcome to work with us to build a strong Zimbabwe nation where everybody is pulling in the same right direction. And so we said, let's start walking the talk by moving away from our cocoons in our parties and coming together to fight this election as a coalition, which is open to everybody who believes in a better, prosperous Zimbabwe. So that is the thinking behind ZCPD, and it has been well received, because really we have not been able to move forward as a country the way we are now. It doesn't matter whether it is ZANU-PF at the national level. The economy does not work. And we are very strong when it comes to the economy as ZCPD in terms of our thinking, and I'll talk about it later. If you are CCC or MDC, they've also been in power at local authority level. And we all know that actually local authorities have become dysfunctional. There's no water. Simple things like running water in households, it is now like a luxury. Some people don't know the last time they had running water coming out of their taps.
Sorry to cut you short. We are now taking a short commercial break. We'll be back with more. Welcome back to the program, The Candidate, where we are talking to prospective presidential candidates for the 2023 general elections. And today we have Mr. Trust Chikohora of the Zimbabwe Coalition for Peace and Development. And just before the break, you were talking about the structure of your party, and maybe if you can share with us, going into these elections, how are you represented, starting from the National Assembly, Senate, youth and women's quota, as well as for the local authorities?
This election, because of the high nomination fees that were prevalent, we have realized that we could not be in a position to field all the candidates that were required because of the huge amount of resources that was required. So strategically, we have decided to go for the presidential election because that is where the direction of the country is set. And then we have a couple of MP candidates. We have a candidate, a lady in Binga South. We have a young man in Chinoi. Some of the MP candidates that we have. And then we have a lot of candidates at local authority level, various parts of the country represented. Because we have said, let's go for the presidency, let's also go for the local authorities, because that is where day-to-day service delivery is done. And so people's lives we've seen are largely affected by how the economy is moving at national level. This is where we are competing at presidential level. And the services that they get on a day-to-day basis, be it water, be it sewer, at local level. And that's why we have many of our candidates in various local authorities throughout the country. That is where we are competing in this election. I know you would say we don't have a lot of people at House of Assembly level, but that is fine, because from the outset, we've already stated that we want to form an inclusive government. So we can have the best people coming from various parties and coming from even outside parliament forming government. So that can still work.
Okay, yeah. Your party seems like has a vast experience through Poland, and historically you have seen our elections, our electorate indeed vote along party lines. What's your strategy in order to have a government, or in order to capture the electorate, since you don't have much you are going to represent you at National Assembly level?
Okay, what matters for people right now is to have an economy that works. That is paramount in this country. And so for us, we are looking at having a stable currency in this country. We are looking at moving away from hyperinflation to having single-digit inflation in this country, and to having stable interest rates, which can actually support investment. So in agriculture, I'm talking now about the economy, what we are promising the electorate. In agriculture, we know land has been taken back to the majority of the people, but we support that. But now the challenge that is there is that of productivity. How do we make the land productive? How do we make sure that it is the people that are serious about agriculture and that can produce for everybody that are on the land? The land audit has been carried out, but we want the results of that land audit to be implemented. There are people with multiple farms. There are people with huge farms. Let those farms be right-sized so that those who have not had an opportunity to get land can also get land, especially those that can be productive on that land. Those that have many farms, let them remain with just one farm and let them produce on the remaining farm. We are even pushing to say those that have been identified to be able to be productive should actually get title. It's no good just dealing in offer letters which can be rescinded tomorrow. We want people to have security of tenure once they have demonstrated that they are good at agriculture. That way, the people on the land will be able to invest on the land. That way, people will be able to borrow on the land. And that way, agriculture will become like a business.
Okay, Mr. Chikohora.
Yeah.
Briefly, as a coalition, do we have a manifesto? And
This is what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
These are the issues that I'm talking about.
Okay.
I am talking about the economy, because at the end of the day, that is the most important thing, and that is critical on the top of our manifesto. And I'm breaking down the issues that are pertinent in terms of how we are going to fix this economy. So I've talked about agriculture, and I've talked about security of tenure, and I've talked about agribusiness and productivity. We need to climate-proof agriculture in terms of making sure that we use vast irrigation resources so that agriculture works whether there's a drought or there's no drought. And we have the highest yields coming out. I'm talking a lot about agriculture because this economy is agro-based. And we need to take our rightful place as the breadbasket of Africa once again. Secondly, in mining, we have vast mineral resources in this country, but we haven't been able to fully utilize them, and we haven't been able to realize the benefits of those natural resources. And we need to have a framework which allows for foreign direct investment to come in, to be able to make use of the mineral resource. But we need to do these deals to the benefit of the people of Zimbabwe. we need to come up with transparent deals in mining, where the people can see directly how they are benefiting from the mineral resources in this country, so that we exploit all the vast mineral resources that we have for the benefit of this economy.
On those, Mr. Chikohora,
Yes.
you spoke about your plans for the agriculture sector.
Yeah.
How is that any different to the present ones, where we have the agriculture growth and development plan, and also in the mining sector, we have a similar proposition of a policy that we have as a country. What sets yours apart from that is present?
I've already said in agriculture, we still have people with so many farms. You heard about Bona, etc. You know about this thing. We will not have that. That will make us different from what is happening now. Right now, people will just have offer letters, which tomorrow, if another chef comes, or if you are seen not to be towing the party line, you will not give your offer letter. So no one is investing on the land. You understand? Because you have no security of tenure. We are talking about security of tenure. We are talking about title deed to land. The current government is not talking about that. So you cannot have development in agriculture without title. It doesn't work. You cannot have agro-business without title. It doesn't work. So that's a huge difference. Moving away from just taking land to actually making the land productive. That's different. Then you are talking about mining. Right. Look at all these mega deals that have been talked about. It is not very clear what is happening. It is not very clear how the people of Zimbabwe will benefit. What is our stake in those mining deals? You don't know. You know? So this is what we are saying. In the other countries, it would be known if there is a major resource. This is our major resource that we have, right? We have platinum, we have lithium now. How is it going to go? What percentage, for example, does government have in that whole process of getting lithium? And so, do we as a people have 51%, for example, in the lithium, so that when we get profits from there, are they going to you and me? Are they going to develop roads, etc.? Are they going to develop infrastructure for this country? So this is where we are saying, especially in mining, there is need for greater levels of transparency. There is need for attracting the best companies that have got experience in this kind of mining to come to Zimbabwe, so that we can benefit from their market linkages, we can benefit from technology transfer. Moving on to manufacturing. Manufacturing is largely about agro-processing and about mineral beneficiation in this country, because we are moving from the base of agriculture and mining. So we need to have incentives in place so that when people come in to do the mining, we have value chains that work. We have mineral beneficiation. If it is gold, do we get to the level of having actual jewelry being produced in this country? Or are we just shipping it out? If it's chrome, what are we doing to actually produce steel in this country? Iron ore to steel. A viable steel industry in this country. If it's agriculture, are we having the produce that is being made, be it your market gardening output? Is it being canned? Is it being processed further to make tomato puree, if it is tomatoes, which we can export and get the much needed foreign currency? So the value chains need to be developed properly, from the farm to the product, which goes into the shop, which goes to export. And to do this, you've got to have government policy which supports industrialization, government policy which is attractive for both local and foreign direct investment, government policy which is consistent, not to say one day you are doing this, the next day you are doing that. People need to be able to plan in business, to be able to invest. Yeah. So I've talked about those three. I just want to finish on the economic front in terms of our manifesto. We've talked about agriculture, mining, we've talked about manufacturing. We also want to talk about infrastructure development, the roads, the rail. Right now, we don't have any rail to talk about. There's no rail that is moving goods. We are moving everything on road. Be it coal, be it even fuel, everything is moving on road. And this is further destroying our roads. We want to bring back a functional railway system in order to move cargo, large cargo, from mining, from agriculture, from manufacturing. This will also make our production more competitive because rail is cheaper than road. This thing of relying on road is actually making us uncompetitive as a country.
I have to cut you short, Mr. Chikohora. We have Mr. Trust Chikohora, the president of the Zimbabwe Coalition for Peace and Development, giving us his manifesto as we head towards the 2023 general elections. We'll be back. Welcome back to the program, The Candidate, where we give you the 2023 presidential candidates sharing with the nation what they have in store. And before the break, Mr. Trust Chikohora, the president of the Zimbabwe Coalition for Peace and Development, was sharing with us some of the pillars of his manifesto. Mr. Chikohora, you were speaking about how you intend to boost the tourism sector in the country. You can go ahead.
Yes, I was talking about rebranding Zimbabwe, creating a brand which attracts people to this country, which ensures that people want to visit this country, adding value to the natural resources that we have, adding value to the Victoria Falls, having things around there which make the product more marketable, which make the product a destination of choice. Looking at Zimbabwe, Great Zimbabwe, it's not very well known around the world. How do we package it to make it somewhere where people want to visit? Our very name Zimbabwe comes from there. How do we package the Great Zimbabwe amongst other things in this country to make tourism attractive? But I want to say now, another very important aspect that we are going to be pushing for is the reintegration of Zimbabwe into the community of nations. As a nation which is just like any other nation, not as a pariah state, a country which has the same rights and obligations as everybody else. We need to have a focused approach of getting Zimbabwe reintegrated into the community of nations. We need to be consistent in pushing for that so that we don't have a situation where we move a few steps forward and we have some own goals that we have which militate against that.
Mr. Chikohora, on that, we have the engagement and re-engagement agenda that is being propelled by the Second Republic, and also looking at the fact that we are under sanctions from the US for quite some time. Do you have a particular strategy that you think can push us forward to be reintegrated into the international community?
Yes. You see, the re-engagement drive is welcome, but it has not been pushed with the vigor that is required. It has not been pushed consistently enough. And there have been a lot of own goals that have been scored as well. So in this kind of situation, you need to have a clear rebranding strategy which is purposeful and which is consistent where people can see that you are continuously moving in a particular direction of reintegration, of positivity. We need to have zero tolerance to corruption. And as leaders, we must lead the way. We must lead by example. We must walk the talk. People should know that hard, honest work can be rewarded in this country. We should not be rewarding shortcuts. We should not be rewarding shady deals. We should have opportunities for people to work hard and make it in this country. So that sort of philosophy of hard, honest work, philosophy of compensating and rewarding decent work is what will result in us rebranding this country and making everybody proud to be Zimbabwean and making everybody know that I have a chance to make it in this country. Yes.
Okay, yeah. Mr. Chikohora, this is your opportunity to speak to the electorate. Okay, you are a candidate, 11 candidates that you have, and we have about 6 million voters. You now have a chance to speak to them. Why should they vote for Trust Chikohora?
Zimbabwe, this is your opportunity to have a leader who takes the future of this country at heart. A leader who will work with you to create a country that we can all be proud of. A leader who will be honest and who will work hard to make sure that everybody has equal opportunities in this country. A leader who is committed to fighting corruption. A leader who is committed to rebranding this country to be the jewel that it is meant to be. All of us should be proud of our country. All of us should have an opportunity in this country to prosper for ourselves, for our children, and for our children's children. When our children go to school, they should have schools that work. When we fall sick, we should have hospitals and infrastructure that works. When our children leave school, they should be having opportunities and jobs for them. We all want to live well. We want an economy that works well for us. You should trust somebody who has the capacity to deliver an economy that works for all. Trust, trust. Vote Trust Chikohora in August 2023. Vote ZCPD.
There you heard it for yourself, Mr. Trust Chikohora, the president of the Zimbabwe Coalition for Peace and Development, who is one of the 11 presidential candidates for the 2023 general elections. Your vote, your choice. From Wellington Makonese and the rest of the crew. Bye-bye for now.